There is a kind of pain that doesn't leave a bruise. It doesn't bleed. It doesn't scream. It just sits quietly inside your chest, year after year, while you smile at family dinners and pretend everything is fine. That was my life. My name is Rachel. I'm the second daughter in a family of 4, and for as long as I can remember, I was the one standing just slightly outside the spotlight, always close enough to feel its warmth, but never quite inside it. My sister, Diana, was everything my parents wanted in a child, loud in the best way, charming, beautiful, the kind of woman who walked into a room and made people forget who else was there. She graduated with honors, she married young, she hosted perfect dinner parties with color-coordinated tablecloths and homemade desserts. And me? I was the quiet one, the one who worked 2 jobs through college, the one who moved to another city because opportunity didn't wait for approval, the one my mother would sigh about when she thought I wasn't listening. Rachel is just different, she'd say. Different, like it was a polite word for disappointment. Every holiday felt like a performance I hadn't rehearsed for. Diana would arrive with gifts and stories, and our parents' eyes would light up in a way I had stopped expecting them to light up for me. I told myself I didn't care. I told myself I was building something, quietly, privately, and that one day it would matter. But this past Christmas shattered even that small comfort. We were all seated around the table, the good china, the candles, the whole picture-perfect setup Diana always managed to create. Our parents were glowing. And then, somewhere between the roasted turkey and the dessert, my mother looked at me with that familiar expression, soft eyes hiding a sharp edge, and said, "Your sister just bought her second home, Rachel. Second. Isn't that incredible?" Everyone at the table turned to look at me. Diana smiled, not cruelly, but knowingly, like she already understood what was coming next. My mother continued, "You're almost 34, sweetheart. When are you going to settle down? Build something real?" The room went quiet, and I felt it, that old familiar ache rising in my chest, the one I had carried since childhood, the one that whispered, "You will never be enough for them." But what no one at that table knew, what I had been holding silently for months, was that I had already built something real, something that was about to change everything. I didn't cry that Christmas. I wanted to. The younger version of me, the girl who used to hide in her bedroom and write in journals just to feel heard, she would have cried. But I had changed in ways my family hadn't noticed, because they had never been looking closely enough. Instead, I smiled. I said something polite. I redirected the conversation. And later that night, lying in my childhood bedroom, staring at the ceiling, I let myself remember how it had all really started. Growing up, Diana and I weren't enemies. That would have been easier, honestly. We were something more complicated. Sisters who loved each other and yet existed in completely different versions of the same family. She was celebrated. I was tolerated. When Diana got her first job, my parents threw a dinner party. When I got mine, a position at a small but promising tech startup, my mother said, "That's nice, honey. Is it stable?" When Diana got engaged, my mother cried tears of joy. When I told them I had decided to focus on my career instead of dating, my father said, "Don't wait too long, Rachel. Men don't wait forever." Every milestone of mine was quietly minimized. Every milestone of Diana's was celebrated like a national holiday. And so I stopped sharing. I stopped telling them about the late nights, the sacrifices, the slow, painful, beautiful process of building something from nothing. I stopped inviting them into my world, because every time I did, they walked in and found something missing, rather than something worth celebrating. What I hadn't told them, what I had told no one in that family, was that 18 months ago, the startup I had joined in its earliest days had been acquired, quietly, significantly, for a number that still made my hands tremble when I thought about it. I had negotiated equity from the beginning. My mentor, a fierce, no-nonsense woman who believed in me before I fully believed in myself, had told me never to work for a dream without owning a piece of it, so I didn't. And when the acquisition was finalized, that piece became something life-changing. I had bought a home, not my first, as it turned out. I had purchased a small property 2 years earlier as an investment, said nothing, and watched it grow. I had been living simply, working quietly, building deliberately. But sitting at that Christmas table, being asked when I would settle down and build something real, while my family smiled at Diana like she was the sun, something shifted inside me. Not anger,
not bitterness. Something quieter and more powerful than both. Clarity. I realized that I had spent my entire life waiting for a permission that was never coming, waiting to be seen by people who had already decided what they were looking at. And I understood finally and completely that I didn't need that Christmas dinner table to validate what I had already built. But I also knew, and this part surprised even me, that I was done being invisible.
3 weeks after Christmas, my mother called. It was a Sunday morning, her usual time. She opened with small talk, the weather, Diana's upcoming anniversary dinner, a recipe she had tried. And then she mentioned, almost as an aside, that Diana was thinking about investing in property. Did I know anything about real estate? I paused. And then, calmly, clearly, without drama, I told her. I told her about the startup, about the acquisition, about the equity I had negotiated years before anyone believed the company would become what it became. I told her about the investment property I had purchased quietly and sold at a significant profit. I told her about the home I now owned, outright, in a city I had chosen for myself. There was a long silence on the other end of the line. "Rachel," my mother finally said, and her voice sounded different, smaller. "Why didn't you tell us?" And I gave her the only honest answer I had. "Because you never asked, Mom. You were always too busy celebrating Diana to wonder what I was doing." She didn't have a response for that. A week later, my father called. He asked careful questions. He listened, really listened for what felt like the first time in my adult life. And at the end of the call, he said something I had waited my whole life to hear. "I'm proud of you, Rachel. I should have said that more. I won't pretend it fixed everything. Years of feeling invisible don't dissolve in a single phone call. But something did shift, in them, and more importantly, in me. Because here is what I learned through all of it. The quietest people in the room are sometimes building the loudest lives, and the ones who are never celebrated in the early chapters are often the ones with the most extraordinary endings. I didn't build what I built to prove anything to my family. I built it because I believed in myself even when no one else did. The validation, when it finally came, was not the reward. The reward was the years of silent discipline. The reward was knowing I had never stopped even when it was hard. Diana still hosts the dinner parties. My mother still lights up when she walks in the room. But now, when my mother looks at me across the table, I see something new in her eyes. Not pity, not concern, recognition. And that, after all these years, is enough. If you've ever been the quiet one, the one who was overlooked, compared, or made to feel like never enough, I want you to know something. Your silence is not your defeat. It is your strategy. Keep building. Your moment is coming.